Why are you alive? What is the ultimate purpose of your existence? For thousands of years, philosophers and theologians have tried to answer this question. But what if a biologist had the most powerful and most unsettling answer of all? What if you are not the protagonist of your own story? What if your body, your brain, your thoughts, and your feelings are just an elaborate temporary vehicle, built by and for the true protagonists of life on Earth, your genes? This is the radical, paradigm-shattering, and profoundly influential idea at the heart of evolutionary biologist Richard Dawkins' 1976 masterpiece, The Selfish Gene. This book is not just a work of science, it is a work of philosophy that takes the theory of evolution to its logical conclusion, and in doing so, it changes how you see every living thing, including the person in the mirror. Today on Geeky Philosopher, we are going to explore this gene's eye view of life. This is a journey to understand the immortal replicators that built us, and the secret selfish purpose that has been driving all of life for billions of years. To understand the selfish gene, we must first travel back in time, to the primordial soup of early Earth. In this chaotic chemical broth, a remarkable molecule accidentally formed. It wasn't alive, but it had a special property. It could create copies of itself. It was a replicator. This was the dawn of life. The first replicators were not very good at their job, but through random errors in copying, variations emerged. Some copies were more stable or faster at replicating, or better at breaking down other molecules for their own use. These more successful replicators, by their very nature, became more numerous. This was the birth of natural selection. Dawkins argues that this is the fundamental logic of all of life. We, and all living things, are the descendants of these ancient replicators. We call them genes, and their one single selfish purpose is to do the only thing a replicator can do: make more copies of itself. The first great reframe of the book is this: the fundamental unit of selection in evolution is not the species, and it is not the individual, it is the gene. So if the genes are the true protagonists of the story, what are we? What are our bodies? Dawkins gives us a powerful and humbling answer. We are survival machines. Over billions of years, the genes that survived were the ones that built better and more complex machines to protect themselves and to help them replicate. They built cell walls, they built fins and legs and wings. Eventually, they built us. Your body is a temporary, disposable colony for a vast collection of immortal genes. You, the individual, are just one of a long line of vehicles. Your genes have been passed down generation after generation for millions of years. Your body is just their latest and most sophisticated ride. And what about the brain? The brain is the survival machine's onboard computer. Its job is to process information about the world and to make the complex decisions that will help the genes inside the survival machine to get copied into the next generation. Our feelings, our love, our fear, our desire, are, from this perspective, the tools that the genes use to manipulate their survival machine into doing what is best for them. This gene's eye view is a profound shift in perspective. It tells us that we are not the masters, we are the vessels. Now, this theory of the selfish gene seems to have a huge, glaring problem. If genes are selfish and their only goal is to replicate, then why does altruism exist in the natural world? Why would a bee sting an intruder to protect the hive, thereby killing itself? Why would a mother bird risk her life to defend her chicks from a predator? Why do we, as humans, often sacrifice for our own children and our families? This is where the theory becomes truly brilliant. Dawkins explains that this is not a paradox at all. These acts of individual sacrifice are actually the result of the gene's selfishness on a deeper level. Remember, the goal of a gene is not to protect one individual body. It is to make as many copies of itself as possible. And where are the most likely places to find copies of your own genes? In your close relatives. You share, on average, 50% of your genes with your child or your sibling. You share 25% with a grandchild or a nephew, and 12.5% with a first cousin. So from the cold mathematical perspective of a single gene, an act of individual sacrifice that saves 2 of your siblings, or 4 of your nephews, is a profitable move. You die, but more copies of the gene survive and get passed on. This is the theory of kin selection. What appears to be individual altruism is, at its root, gene selfishness. The bee that stings the intruder dies, but she is a sterile worker. By sacrificing herself, she helps to save the queen, who shares a huge percentage of her genes and is the only one who can pass them on. It is a brutal but elegant logic. For the first few billion years of life, the gene was the only replicator on the planet. But then one of its survival machines, the human being, developed a brain so complex that it created a new kind of primordial soup. That soup is human culture. And in this new soup, a new kind of replicator was born. Dawkins coined a now famous term for it, the meme. A meme is a unit of cultural transmission. It is an idea, a catchphrase, a melody, a fashion, a belief. Just like genes, memes are replicators. They jump from brain to brain through the process of imitation. And just like genes, they are subject to a form of evolution. Some memes are more successful than others. The idea of God, for example, is an incredibly successful meme. It has replicated itself in billions of brains across thousands of years. The tune of Happy Birthday is another one. Memes and genes are often allies. A cultural belief in family values is a meme that helps the genes that created it to replicate. But sometimes they can be rivals. The meme of celibacy, for example, is a direct threat to the replication of a person's genes, but it can still be a very successful meme. Why? Because the meme doesn't care about your genes. The meme, like the gene, is a selfish replicator. Its only goal is to make more copies of itself. This is a profound idea. It suggests that with the birth of culture, we, the survival machines, have unleashed a new and powerful evolutionary force on the planet. So where does this leave us? Is the message of the selfish gene a bleak and deterministic one? Are we all just mindless robots, blindly executing the commands of our selfish genes and memes? No. This is where Dawkins makes a final, powerful, and deeply philosophical turn. He argues that we, Homo sapiens, are the only creature on Earth that has the capacity to rebel against the tyranny of our own replicators. Our brains, the very computers built by our genes, have developed a consciousness and a capacity for foresight that is so powerful, we can actually turn against our original creators. We can use birth control, a direct rebellion against the selfish gene's desire to replicate. We can choose to be altruistic to complete strangers, to people who share none of our genes, a rebellion against the cold logic of kin selection. We can question the memes we have been taught, and we can choose to create new, more compassionate ones. The book is not a celebration of selfishness, it is a scientific explanation of it, so that we can understand the deep biological currents that are pulling on us. By understanding our own programming, we gain the power to transcend it. The journey of the selfish gene is a mind-altering one. It is a call for a more humble, more scientific, and ultimately more profound understanding of our place in the universe. We are survival machines, yes, but we are the only survival machines that can look their own creator in the eye and say no, and in that rebellion lies our greatest freedom and our greatest responsibility. Understand your own code. This book is a journey into the very source code of life itself. It is a challenging, provocative, and essential guide to the deep biological story that has been unfolding for 4 billion years. If you are a seeker of this deep scientific and philosophical understanding of the human condition, then you are a part of this great inquiry. Consider subscribing to Geeky Philosopher, where we are dedicated to exploring the powerful ideas that help us understand ourselves. Thank you for your time.